Hello and welcome back. In this tutorial we will start adding a menu screen to the game. So we want to add a number of options here. We will want to allow the player to set the second player as human or AI. We want to set the number of points it'll take until victory is achieved. We want an option for quitting, and we'll want an option for starting the game. Now, we may not get the whole thing finished in this tutorial video, so we'll just see how it goes. It's probably also worth mentioning I haven't looked at this in 2 weeks, so I've probably forgotten a little of how I'd planned to lay everything out. So that out of the way, let's just get started. First thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add a new panel for our menu screen. Okay, and what do I call it? Menu panel. Okay, and we want to add a number of buttons. Well, this was a title and a number of buttons. Let's increase the alpha first so it blocks out the other screen, and we can set the color to black, set it to whatever you like. You'll notice there's it's not filling the whole screen. That's just the graphic I'm using. See if you can find something. Yeah, the original Pong texture is a square, so that will that'll fill the whole screen. So let's add a title first, text, and we will say Pong. That is, yeah, the shadow play thing is completely distracting me. It's showing up the buttons I'm pressing at the bottom of the screen. Okay. Title. And we will want to make that a little bigger, and we'll make it white and centered, and we will set it to best fit. And we're going to want to move it up a bit. And we will also, let's just grab the anchor and anchor it to the top there. So the next thing we will want to do is add a button for, I suppose start game would be the obvious place to start. So button. I'm really not going to worry about the aesthetics of this here. So it's just going to be pretty functional. Start game. I'll call that, just for clarity, start game button. And we will want another button. We can just duplicate this one so we get the same size. We will use that one for players. Now if you want to be a bit more careful about layout here to kind of get it say even spacing between all of the buttons, you'd probably want to create a panel, put them all in it, and add a layout component. In this case it would be a vertical layout that would allow you to set the spacing. We're not going to worry too much about that. So we'll call this no points button, so it's number of points button. Let's set I think we set the initial points to 3, so we can just set that to, we can set it to that. Points 3. Let's duplicate that again now, and let's drag it down a bit. And we will say players button, and I think it'll default. We could set this if we wanted, but I think it's just going to default to 1 to start off with. It's going to be 1 human player versus the AI. So we'll set it to players 1 to begin, and let's make the last button duplicate that, and this will be to quit the game. And quit. A quit won't actually do anything in the when you add the function to it. It won't do anything in Unity, but it'll quit out of when you build to standalone or to whatever. So let's work on the quit first, because that's really easy. Let's call it quit button. Now we want to make I suppose game control script is the is perhaps the best place to add these functions, the menu functions. Okay. It's a bit slow. It seems to have been, I think Unity 5.22 seemed to be a little slow in the editor and in the IDE as well for some reason. I'm not sure. So create a region here, menu. I'll call it menu, main menu methods, main menu methods, and end region. So this is an easy one. Quit game. Quits the application. Public void. I think I'm going to try and switch that off because it's I'm going to type in a lot. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll just tolerate it this time. I haven't used Shadowplay yet. It's actually better. It offers better compression than the other recording software that I'm using, so I started using it. Quit application. So we're not going to pass anything. We don't want to return anything. Just a single line here. Application dot quit, and we'll build that. Okay, so we want an event here. So onClick is the event we want when we click on the button. Now we want to drag down the script that this function is in, or this method is in. So it's in game control script, which is attached to game control object. Now we can pick out the script from here in the function. So we've got game control script and quit application. So that's that taken care of. We will let's look at points next. So let's just have a quick look here. So we want to change score to win every time the player clicks on the button. What we could do is just set it in a range between, say, 1 to 10. 10 points being the max, and every time the player clicks increases the count or the number of points, then they click on 10, it goes back to 1. That's a bit simpler. You could make this a little fancier. You could just put this in as a text, and you could put a arrow on each side, another button, and you could have a method here that says reduce points, and you could have another button here that says increase points. You could do that if you like. I don't think it's really necessary here. You basically be able to implement it yourself anyway. So let's add a function here. Okay, so this increases the number of points required to win the game. So public public. We're not going to. We don't want to return anything. Increase points to win game. Okay. So every time we press that button, we want to call this method. So what we want to do is we want to increase the score to win. So we can just say score to win plus plus. That'll increase it by 1. So we want to increase score to win. We want to reduce score to win to 1 if it's greater than 10. And I think that's all we need to do in this method. So we've got score to win. If score to win is greater than 10, score to win equals 1. Now we will also need to update that'll actually change the field, the value of the field, but it won't actually update the points here, so we're going to need to do that. To do that, we're going to need to get a reference to points. So let's just add in this is a UI element, so we can put it in this category here. Public. We only want the text element. We don't actually need to get the button, and it's easier just to get the text if we want to interact with that. So it's text points to win text. Okay. So after we increase it, we'll want to set the points to win text. You could put it in a different method if you wanted. Since it's unlikely to be called from anywhere else, I think we can just put it in here. If you're going to call it from multiple places, you'd be better to split it out into a separate method and just call the method. So points to win text dot text, that'll access the text component, equals score to win. Let's just have a quick look here. How is it set up? So it's points colon space and then points to win. So points colon space plus score to win. And I don't think we need to change that to a string. I think it'll just be automatically changed to a string if it's being added to a string. So we'll need to get this component, get a reference to it. We have declared a field above. We need to get the reference, and we will also need to hook up the button to this method. So let's do that now. And points. Once again, we want to use an event. This is the right one on click. So let's just press plus there, and you'll remember that it's game control object that we added the method to. So we're going to do game control script. So we're going to do game control script, increase points to win game. So that'll handle that side of it. Now let's go into game control object, and we get the points to win text. So we don't want the button, we want the text. So let's see. That should probably be that. Let's just test that that's working now. Yeah, it's the game's actually still playing in the background. We'll take care of that. So okay, and we can see here the score to win is increasing every time we click on it, and once it goes to 10, that's the max. You can set your own limit if you want, and as I said, if you want something, if you want to practice doing something else, you could add in 2 buttons there. Just make this a text component, add in 2 buttons, and have added it, so you already have the method for increasing that you will call when you press this button. You want to add another method here that will decrease the score when you click on it, and once when that gets to less than 1, you want to put it up to 10. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial, and I will continue with the menu in the next one. I'll see you then.